Keller Williams Arizona Realty brings you Ignite 2.0, session number 4, Power Your Database with Brandon Cohen.
Okay, so we are going to kick it off today by talking about what I would argue would be the two most important things after lead generating, which would be your database and your follow-up. And Brandon, I'm so excited to have Brandon with us to talk about this topic, because if any of you had been in relation with Brandon at all, you know that in my opinion, he is the master of follow-up. And he is someone that truly understands how to work the database, how to stay consistent and persistent on pursuing people and bringing value to them and connecting with them and following up. So I'm super excited to have Brandon talk about this topic with us. And I am going to turn it over to him and we're going to get started. Take it away, Brandon.
Awesome. Thank you, Jackie. Let's see if I share my screen, if this actually works.
Sure. Yep, it's coming.
Yay. Gotta love technology. Okay. I would totally agree with Jackie that I would actually contend that database is number one. You can lead generate until the cows come home, but what is going on there? Looks like a strobe light.
I think if you click, anytime you click the mouse, it'll go.
Okay. No, I had hit the play button, so it was just scrolling through them. You can lead generate until the cows come home. But if you don't know how to follow up, then your business just won't be there. Database and lead follow-up really creates, changes your business into a business from a job. The likelihood of someone walking into your open house, the likelihood of someone clicking on one of your Facebook ads and being rip-roaring ready to go that day, it could happen. You're probably looking at 1 out of 100. The reality of it is, if you have a plan in place to actually follow up with them consistently, your return on investment is going to be huge. I'd rather this be a discussion than a monologue. So, does anybody on this call actually think, no, there's no point in having a database, there's no point in following up with people ever? Feel free to unmute yourself.
No, I guess. I don't know.
Okay. So in your opinion, what is a database?
Information.
Okay.
Very
right on.
important information. Yeah.
Well, I would agree. So
knowledge. I mean.
So while we're on that, when you're talking to these folks, when you're talking to clients, when you're talking to leads that come in from various sources, where are you putting them?
In the database, right?
Well, in a perfect world, but I mean more along the lines of, I was on a call the other day and somebody pulled out a stack of Post-it notes.
Well, that's what I was
Technically, that's a database, right?
Yeah.
Technically.
little
Is it an effective one?
Yeah.
And that's really, guys, that's the average agent. The average agent is going to either use Post-it notes, a notebook, something along those lines. And myself included, when I was first in my business, that's what I did. In fact, I found a stack of about 6 notebooks. There's probably a couple thousand leads in there. So if anybody's interested, I'll sell that to you, $15 a lead. Get a little side hustle going.
I'm totally the same. I have stacks of notebooks from when I first started.
So here's my experience, and I'll speak from I on this one. When I was doing that, it's great in that moment. But what happens the next week, the next month, when I've gotten another 20 leads, 50 leads, and now I think of myself as being a fairly intelligent guy and having a pretty good memory. I can't remember 500 people and where they are in the process. So in my opinion, having a database with the ability to set reminders and take notes so that you can have that all at the touch of your finger at your disposal when you need it. Because the reality of it is, unless you're a heck of a lot smarter than me, you're not going to remember to follow up with these people. And here's, in my opinion, even better is being able to automate it. Because here's the reality of it. I'm lazy by nature. Let's just let the cat out of the bag. That's the truth of it. The vast majority of interactions that I've had with most of the folks on this call, especially if I recruited you, that was automated. It makes me look really good. It makes people think, wow, this guy's incredible. He's really consistent in his follow-up. Yeah, no, I just create smart plans and they do all the heavy lifting. So only create a database if you really want to have a consistent income, a predictable income. Your return on investment is going to be huge in that your database can provide you with an additional flow of business. As an example, I got a call, last Friday. Past client of mine that I've stayed in touch with, his mom wants to sell her house. If I wasn't staying in touch with him, I wouldn't have gotten that lead. So we talked about what is the database. So, and I think I touched on the purpose, and you guys mentioned it, that it's all about information. It's accumulating that information so that, this is going to sound harsh, when you call them the next time and you've made notes on what your previous conversations were like, it really makes it sound like you care. So if Jackie's in my database and the last time we talked, we discussed what she's doing with CrossFit now, and am I going to remember that? Maybe, probably not, especially if I'm following up in 3 months. But then I can ask, hey, how's your workouts going, yada, 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 and it makes it sound like she's top of my mind when the reality is I'm just keeping a really well-tended database.
That's a great point, and how to utilize those notes so that when you do call back, it can be a very Ford-like conversation. I like that.
Absolutely. So, guys, what are the 5 absolute must pieces of information that you need for each lead in your database? Feel free to unmute yourself. I don't know if that's sign
First
language.
and last name.
Okay. Okay. So name is important.
Email.
What else? Email, phone number. Okay. What else?
Where you met them, or how do you know them?
Okay. That's, yes, absolutely. However, there's 2 more pieces of key information that you're going to need to accumulate on each of your leads over time.
If they're ready to sell or buy, or they know anybody that is?
Okay. That's definitely going to be a communication. I would contend that their physical address, and feel free to, if you know their first and last name, feel free to go ahead and look them up in Monsoon. As realtors, we are professional stalkers. If you haven't learned that one yet, you will. And lastly, in my opinion, having their date of birth. Not that you want to sell them beer or cigarettes, but because you want to be able to follow up with them on their birthday. Now you can also go ahead and friend all of your people on Facebook and just get that Facebook notification that, oh, hey, it's their birthday. Great. Now I'll update my database. Again, professional stalker. I kind of jumped the gun. So why would you want all of that information?
To have multiple ways to get in contact with them?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And so now you have the ability to not only call them, you have the ability to text them, you have the ability to email them or send them a card. You have their date of birth, so you can send them a card on their birthday. Really, if you have their address and you go ahead and pull it through Monsoon and they own, you also know when they bought the house, so that's another piece of communication. And you can go ahead and run comps on that property and reach out, and that's yet another reach out. Hey guys, just noticed that your house has gone up by 15% over the last 12 months. Man, that's awesome. Have you considered refinancing or selling? Okay. So if you have, let's pretend for a second the vast majority of you are going to have the person's name, their phone number, and their email address. Please don't call them up and say, hey, I need this other information. Give me your address, your date of birth, your social security number, your firstborn's name. That comes off as weird. You can always hey, just wanted to reach out around Christmas time, especially once you start to get in that holiday season. Go through your database. Hey, I noticed that I don't have your address. I'm putting together my Christmas card list, and I would love to be able to send you one. Could I have your address?
Smooth.
I'm sorry?
I said smooth. Right? Nice and smooth.
Not my first drag race. The idea is to not come off as weird as much as humanly possible. For me, it's more difficult than for others, I think. So, really, you want to break your database down into groups. I've heard there's a million different ways that you can do this. My suggestion would be to definitely have, and one lead can be in multiple groups. So let's pretend that you have someone who is a seller, but also an investor. So you can segment it by buyer, seller, investor, renter. You can also break it down by time. So this person's intending to do something in the next 90, the next 6 months, the next 12 months. This person's on more of a 5-year plan. This is whatever works for you guys, but the more concise your groups are and the more specific your groups are, the easier it is to target, because then you can send out communication en masse to that entire group. So if I know everybody that in my database that is looking within the next 90 days and interest rates are going up, could I reach out to all of them at one time?
And Brandon, when you're talking about grouping them in command, are you doing that by tags, opportunities? Could you expand a little bit on that?
I usually do tags. So keep in mind, guys, my command database is going to be a little bit different than most of yours, in that I also have to break down my database into sales and agents because of the recruiting aspect of it. So I have to be extra careful who I'm communicating with when, and it's a little bit more confusing for me. However, I'm getting used to it now. So yes, I suggest tags. However, again, whatever works for you guys. I think opportunities will definitely work for the shorter term. However, to my knowledge, you couldn't send out a mass text to an entire opportunity group.
Yep.
So automate as much as humanly possible. I can tell you that by automating my business, and I have, just to give you kind of an idea, my main business database is about 5,500 people. Let's just pretend for a second. If I were incredibly motivated, let's put it that way, to contact 100 people a day in my database, how long, and I was going to work 5 days a week, how long would it take me to burn through that 5,500 people? Is that even remotely possible? I would contact them, like once every 18 months, maybe. No way can you stay top of mind that way. But setting up smart plans, setting them up on neighborhood searches, setting them up on searches, allows you to do a lot of that, and then you just have to make 3 or 4 calls a year. So, touching on why use a database, my answer is because I like to not have a high lead generation spend, and it still allows me to lead generate daily for business with people that already know, like, and trust me. So let's spend a second on who goes in your database. If you were to do an open house and someone walks through your open house and you get their contact information and they're working with a realtor, do they go in your database?
Yes.
Yeah, everybody
Okay.
goes in your database. Everybody.
Okay. Do you put agents that you do cross deals with? Do you put them in your database?
You probably should.
Well, let's not should all over ourselves. Only do that if you want to take advantage of profit share, which I strongly suggest you do.
That's what I'm thinking.
Does anybody on this call not like free money?
Hey, Brandon, what if it's a bad agent you had a really bad deal experience with, and you go, I never would want to recruit them. Would you just not
Then
put
I
them in
would
the database?
So I would put them in my database under blackball.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I can remember, because again, man, 15 years in the business, somebody asked me this the other day. How many agents have you worked with that you would never want to work with again? I know there's been a couple, and I can't remember their names.
Gotcha.
But
okay.
you could go ahead and pull up that list and go, oh yeah, this was that agent ...
Right.
So all of it works. So here's my favorite part of having a database and maintaining a strong database. If you don't have a database, the common question with realtors is, what do I need to do today? Who do I need to call? And if you don't have a database that has reminders set, you don't know. I know my workflow for every day. I sit down on my computer, pull up my follow-up calls, and I know, okay, today I have 35 sale calls, I have 15 sale calls, I have 14 recruit calls. I know what I have to do. And then I can start to lead generate. Or you can sit there and go, spend an hour trying to figure out who you're supposed to be calling today by scrolling through your notebook or your Excel spreadsheet, praying to God you're calling the person that was ready today from 3 months ago. So would you guys like to have a predictable business? Would that be a benefit, do you think?
Absolutely.
Okay. So lead generation is going to get you your today business, right? A database is going to get you tomorrow. And if you lead generate enough, and let me hop back. I think I've gone through this scenario before with most of the people on this call. However, I'll do it again. So most companies suggest that you lead generate. So what that typically looks like is most agents have the inherent ability to just go out and lead generate and create a certain number of deals every year. Let's pretend for a second that that number is 10. So you go out and you create those 10 deals, and the next year you go out and create another 10 deals, and onward and onward. So in effect, you have multiple first years. What we're suggesting with that database is the first year you create those 10 deals, but you also are creating a database. So then your following year, you create those 10 deals again. But because of your database, that adds another 5, 10, 15, 20 transactions. And then it just starts to snowball from there. I'm not sure about you guys, but if I had the choice between doing 10 deals every year for the rest of my business or creating a database and having exponential growth, I'd go with that. And I will be the first to tell you that I've had multiple first years. So learn from my mistake. The first company that I worked for, I remember having a conversation with my broker. I had gone to a class on business plans. What's your business plan? And the answer was sell more houses. That's awesome. How are you going to do that? Dead silence. With a database, you know, if I have X number of people in my database, that should lead to X number of transactions. I need to add, that's not the number of transactions I want to do, so I have to add X number of people to my database. Simple mathematics. So let's pretend this 100 people is your database. Now, this is the number of people that are going to be transacting real estate in the next year. This is the number of people that are going to be transacting real estate in the next 3 to 6 months. Can you pick those people out for me? If you don't have a database and you don't have those reminders set and you're not staying in touch with them, how do you know? You just guess. And would you rather call 100 people a day every day to stay top of mind, or keep those notes and just follow up the people that are ready to go within the next 3 to 6 months? Per Keller Williams, they're suggesting that your average ROI from your database should be 10 to 1 to 14 to 1. I don't know where else in business that you can get a return on investment like that, but if you get better, by all means, man, let me know. Guys, what is the conversion rate? What's your conversion rate at, say, an open house? Would you say it's high or low? By all means, unmute.
Low.
Okay. What about with internet leads? Conversion rate high or low?
Low.
Okay. What about repeat and
Low
referral
and
business?
long.
What's that?
Low and long for internet.
Yeah. Okay. What about repeat and referral business? I mean, in my experience, barring the fact that like I walk in the house and punch them in the face, I'm going to get this deal. Like As long as you don't light them on fire, you have a really, really, really good shot. And Margaret, for my suggestion for you, you are correct. Internet leads can be low conversion rate and long as far as conversion time. That being said, I've gotten referrals from people that I have never, ever, ever met because I've stayed in touch with them. And they're like, you know what, man, you're so persistent that you seem like you would do a great job. Just because I know how to set up an automated drip. Haha, I fool you. Technology can mask a lot of faults. So, okay. Referrals are going to be your lowest lead cost. The reality of it is all it costs is a call, all it costs is a text or an email that's set up to go out automatically. And it's also going to be your lowest conversion cost. You don't have to spend hours and hours and hours working on it or spending a ton of money getting ready to go out and create these leads. So over time, your database should more than pay for itself. So the common complaint is, well, what do I say to these people, right? So what, as Keller Williams agents, do we have access to that could give you a reason to follow up with them, especially right now? Don't worry, I'll wait. Would we all agree that in today's reality, people are looking to save money? Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay. So are people thinking about refinancing their properties because interest rates are really low right now and that could save them a ton of money?
Certainly.
Okay. So true story. I'm in the process of refinancing my house right now.
Christina chimed in the chat box, Brandon. Christina says Keller Mortgage. She said Keller Mortgage.
Absolutely.
Where I think you're going.
Right on. Yeah, right on, man. So true story. I went ahead and I'm refinancing my house right now. I went ahead and got quotes from 3 different mortgage companies that I've used over and over and over again. So with Keller Mortgage, true story, I got the same rate that of all of the mortgage companies, I got the best rate possible. So one other mortgage company was going to give me the same rate, but the difference was I'm saving $4,000 in closing costs. I don't $4,000 like that many people. I definitely don't $4,000 like too many lenders. So if I can keep that money in my pocket, thank you very much. So could you be reaching out to your people? Hey guys, I know a lot of people right now are looking to reduce their costs. I have access to Keller Mortgage, yada, yada, yada. Who do you know that's looking to refinance or take advantage of the market and go ahead and buy? In the last 2 months using that, I've sent about 6 people over, 3 for refinances and 3 for purchases.
Nice.
So use some of the things that are at your disposal to reach out to these folks. You're providing value. And a lot of times we as agents take this stuff for granted.
Yep. And use the stories of the team around you. So that story that Brandon just told you, you could share. You know, one of my teammates, one of my coworkers just saved $4,000 in closing costs by using this as well. You know, share it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, guys, when I was new in the business, I stole everyone else's experiences and I made them mine until I had my own. And then I no longer needed to do that. But in the beginning, absolutely. A close friend of mine, every little thing that happened in his transaction, I would go ahead and steal it. Why not? Marketing is going to go ahead and it's going to cost you money. It's going to take time, and it takes long term. So examples of marketing are going to be like geographic farming. It's only effective if you consistently do it and pay that money over the long term. So with geographic farming in particular, the return rate is something like, at this point, 18 to 24 months, depending on who has market share in that area currently. So much to my chagrin, I mean, I hate to burst some bubbles here, but if you're going to go ahead and send out a postcard to a neighborhood, that's great, but only do it if you have the money set aside to do it for the next 18 to 24 months. Prospecting, on the other hand, it's going to be time sensitive. It's proactive, so you completely control it, and it can lead to immediate results. But everyone that responds to any of this should be going directly into your database, because if you're prospecting for sale by owners and expireds, should they go into your database? Absolutely. Could you set them up on a long-term drip? Absolutely, and take a lot of the heavy lifting off of you. I'm still waiting for Jackie for them to create a variable in Command to have the person's address. That way I can just automate for sale by owners and expireds.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
I already have the drip made. I just need that one piece.
Yeah.
So here's some examples of KW's tagging systems. As Cody Gibson has said, everything works and nothing doesn't. You can steal these. You can create your own. It doesn't make a bit of difference. Could you have a drip campaign set up for your vendors and ask for referrals? Why not? If you guys don't mind terribly, I'll let Jackie handle the tech demo portion of the program. And my understanding is you guys have been doing that a little bit. So they're suggesting that you create a touch campaign that's 19 touches for a brand new lead, going quarterly call, 12 touches with your monthly email newsletter, 2 touches promotional direct mail, and then 1 touch being an annual event. So could a lot of you, let's put it this way, a lot of you probably don't have enough people in your database to go ahead and do an annual event, a movie screening or something like that, or a barbecue. Could the entire PC program put together an annual event and you guys share in the cost? Could you have 2 or 3 agents put together and all invite their database of 100, 200 people and fill a movie, possibly?
Or could you, sorry, I'm jumping in really fast because of what's coming
right
up.
On.
Could you invite, and the answer is yes, so I'm not even gonna say could you. You can be calling your database right now and inviting them to Red Day, the Red Day event that's coming up next week, and invite them to drop off donations and grab an ice cream from the ice cream truck, and information will be going out on that later. But you can leverage, the point is like what Brandon's saying, leverage other events that are going on, especially if it's not in the budget to make it happen. So invite them to that event and let them see the culture around us.
Right, absolutely. So it's one of those things, guys. So my understanding is you all recently did a buyer seminar.
The people
so
here
yeah. Okay, so that's awesome. And could you go ahead and do that monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, whichever you prefer, and invite your entire database. Hey, who do you know that would be interested in attending a free virtual home buying seminar? Could you translate that into an investor seminar or a seller seminar? Or at this point in time for this market, could you all band together and learn what forbearance is and what happens with that and do a forbearance? Or if the market shifts, a short sale seminar. There's a million different opportunities that if you have your people segmented in your database, you can quickly and easily reach out to them and offer these things. I personally, in my drip campaigns, will have an email or a text go out that says, hey, I'm having a home buyer seminar. Who do you know that's thinking about buying that would love to attend? Even if I don't have one set up, oh, you know what? It's just you and me. Then it just becomes a buyer appointment. Great. You know what? I'm here, you're here. Let's do it. Especially now that everything's become virtual. Why not? Okay. So long-term for contacts. So a contact, I don't know if they're still categorizing it this way, but once upon a time, Gavin?
Yo.
Say something?
No, I just, when I joined the meeting, it rang the doorbell.
Oh, nice. So once upon a time, the breakdown was Mets and haven't Mets. So leads would be a haven't met, someone that you haven't actually interacted with yet. A contact is someone that, in a perfect world, you have those 5 pieces of information. You have their name, phone number, email address, physical address, date of birth. With them, you're going to put them on a 36 touch. So when you're maintaining contact with your database, is it easier to get testimonials and reviews? And could that become a systematic portion of your business, that as we go through the transaction, the next step is I send out for a review and request a testimonial. And then I post that onto my website. You can have them Yelp reviews and Zillow and all kinds of other stuff, especially in the beginning, right? If you create the system now and follow that system for the rest of your business, imagine where you'll be in a year, 2 years, 5 years. So here's the hardest part for me. I am by nature a hoarder. That's why I have 5,500 people in my database. My wife yells at me all the time about this. I don't like throwing people away. Because somewhere in the back of my mind, there's always that you never know. Look, guys, if they have said to you, my brother is a realtor and I will never, ever, ever use you, just stop, man. Don't even waste the time or the energy. It's not worth it. If in communication with them, they're incredibly rude, they're probably not going to get better. Kick them out. So don't be afraid to, if you really can't see yourself transacting with this person, get rid of them. Don't cause yourself the time and the aggravation. And yes, somewhere in the back of our mind, I'm always like, well, man, I could really use that extra $12,000. Sometimes it's just not worth the time and the aggravation, especially when you just keep feeding that database and your business will grow and it'll keep your head clear and you can spend your time and energy on people that really deserve it. Jackie, did I roll through that way too fast?
You're fine. Do you want to talk a little bit before we go through the ahas for them? You've touched on your follow-up and things like that. We've talked a little bit about prior in smart plans one of the ones that you and Casey had developed. Do you want to just talk a little bit about, because I know that's kind of been something that's come up really often with the Facebook leads lately, about maybe getting bad leads or kind of the misconception of that and how you go about it, just in general. You don't have to give us specifics, but kind of talk to us a little bit about that, I think would be helpful.
Gotcha. Okay. So I'll flower this up a little bit. There's no bad leads. There's just leads that are in different places in the buying or selling cycle, right? And we as agents get to choose whether or not we're going to put the energy forth to communicate with them. The way I typically explain automating your systems is you can either make these calls all the time and spend probably 4 to 5 hours a day for the rest of your life, or spend about 2 hours creating an automated drip that will then save you all of those hours. And I will be the first to tell you. Yep.
Brandon, quick question. So when you're talking about your automated drips, you're not talking about from command. You're talking about from the MLS, right?
No, I'm talking about command. So
okay.
For me, that's a great question, or a great statement, James. So for me, MLS is only for clients. Does that make sense? If I've just met you, if you came onto my database or came onto my website, I'll set up a search through command, but I'm not setting you up on a search through MLS until we're working together. So I'll send you a little bit and I'll let you go ahead and search to your heart's desire. But until we're actually going to work together, I'm not going to take the time to actually go in depth and go into MLS.
Okay, so I guess what I need to do, because I'm not really clear on how we set up a drip with command for people that aren't actively looking. So like, are we doing it by their neighborhood? Are we doing it by just that they're not really, they just want to know statistics of what's happening in Phoenix? I mean, are we dripping specific 3-bedroom, 2 baths? I mean.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my suggestion would be don't overthink it.
Okay.
And set it up. So let's pretend it's a Facebook lead and they came in on a house in 85260. Set them up on a search through command for that area. Because here's what I know. If I send them houses and they're the wrong houses, they will let me know that, and it will allow me to communicate with them. Gotcha. Because the reality of this, all of this, especially with leads, is strictly to create engagement.
Gotcha. Okay.
It kind of goes back to the open house smart plan too. If they don't leave their address, if they don't fill out that box or you don't know, really setting them up on that neighborhood of like the open house that they came into, because chances are they're very interested in that neighborhood. And then like Brandon said, if they want to get more, if they want to get outside that neighborhood, they'll certainly ask.
Okay, gotcha.
Exactly. And it allows you to then follow up with them. So let's pretend, James, you came into my open house, you're a Facebook lead, what have you. I'm going to set you up on this search, and then I'm going to send you over those homes, and then I'm going to follow up with you. Hey, man, just wanted to check in, make sure you received the email, number one, and are there any changes you'd like me to make? I also get to see when you're actually looking at properties, so then that allows me to follow up yet again. Hey, man, notice you looked at 123 Main Street. Are you interested in taking a walk through?
Can I ask a question in regards to what James is saying?
Of course.
So on that note, I was setting up one of the Facebook smart plans, and it says, here's some properties, in that neighborhood or whatever, and you're supposed to put the link on there. So I guess I'm not familiar with how, I didn't know where to get the link, because I am so, been in real estate, Brandon, for a while, but just kind of the MLS whole drip system. Right. So on command, I'm assuming that's where they wanted us to take that link from. And where do we go? I don't even know where to go in command to do that, really, to set up a drip. Is that
Okay.
something, Jackie, we want to go over
Yeah.
at a later date?
I can I can show it today when after Brandon addressed it, but I can show it after his part's done, because I believe the link in the plan that you're referring to is they're asking you to copy and paste the link from the neighborhood snap that's set up, and I can show you where to get that from.
Okay.
Correct. Now, there's a couple of different ways that you can also do that. What they're talking about is the neighborhood. However, you could also, go into the end user face of your website, right? So act like you're a user, put in a search, and then copy that URL.
Okay.
That may have just gone completely over your head, and I apologize. I can show you, Jackie can show you. No big deal, but that's another avenue to go.
But Brandon, I mean, it's the same thing like if we're on Kelly and we send out our link to the website so we can see people are, either logging in or looking. But then I guess my question is the next step, how do we get them on a drip for the area where they were looking from? Because it's not, Kelly is good as a tool, but it doesn't seem very user friendly for manipulating data. And so then we have to kind of get into command. And I guess maybe Jackie will clarify more of that.
Well, yeah, so keep in mind, think of Kelly as the remote control to command, right? So it's just command in your hand. I personally do not, how can I put this? I don't do anything on Kelly, because why would I do it on my phone when I could just as easily do it on my computer? Okay. So I'll actually log into command, go to that person, and then make any changes from there. Now, if you want to do it from your phone, you can, but yes, it is a little bit more difficult.
And kind of to address that too, James, like Brandon said, don't overthink it. And we don't intend it for this to sound like we don't care, because we do. But if somebody's not responding back to you, James, don't spend 30 minutes trying to find something so detailed to send to them if they haven't been interacting with you. You know what I mean?
No, I was just thinking, if they looked at 85020 area, perfect. Okay, even though they're not really responsive, or they just sent their phone number, no email, I'll fire off a text or something to them just to say, here's something, but I'd like to set them up on some sort of, like you say, an easier drip where you're not having to stay attentive to them every single day until they become active.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, perfect.
So here's a perfect example, James, right? So for me, every time I get a lead, and this was part of the SMART plan that Casey and I did, every lead that comes in, I set them up on a generic search. Yes. I don't know what that was, but okay.
I think someone was looking for comments.
Could you say that again, Brandon?
Everyone that comes in into my database gets set up on either a neighborhood search if they own, right, or they get set up on a generic search of some kind. So true statement. Last night, I got a text, hey, can I go look at 123 Main Street? Now, here's the truth of it. I don't know who this person is. So I went back into my database. Okay, who is this person? Great, yada, yada, yada. It's a rental. If any of you want a rental lead, I can send it to you. So as a side note, but that happens only because I've set them up on a search. In my estimation, in my opinion, in my experience, people don't care about us. They just want to be able to see pretty houses, even if it's the wrong area. Don't overthink it, because you can always change it.
Victoria jumped off the rental lead, so send it to me.
Okay, I'll send it over after, Victoria. I don't remember where it was, but I'll send it over. Does that make sense, James?
Yeah, it does. I just need to get the nuts and bolts of the setup, I think, better in using command for that. I've gotten a lot of, there's so many different things to play with in there, and you keep trying to do different things to post, and you do neighborhood, the video that we have. There's a lot of great stuff. There's so much great stuff. Sometimes you miss like the simple things like this that I think are the basics of hey, get them on a drip where they're seeing houses from you on a regular basis. And I think that's what I need to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So the easiest way to do that is you can set them up on a neighborhood. So if they're looking in Desert Ridge, right, you can set them up on that neighborhood and just like you would a seller. I will admit this one freely, as you will shortly see. If you go and set them up on a real estate search, at this point in time, for whatever reason, we're not able to set them up on a city search. So Scottsdale, it has to either be a neighborhood or a series of neighborhoods, one zip code, which is infuriating, or you can actually go into the map and click on a bunch of neighborhoods, which is kind of a pain in the butt. So that's why I'm suggesting, like, you guys are going to go in and you're going to like click on 42 neighborhoods and it's going to take you 25 minutes. Don't. Just do 1, 2, 3. Cool. Quick, done. If it takes more than 3 minutes, you're overthinking it. If you don't know their price range, make one up. It's cool. Even if it's too low, too high, they'll let you know and it's a conversation. Like in this one, it's cool to be right. Or excuse me, it's cool to not be right because it creates conversation.
Love that. And James, I'll show some stuff in Command too after this.
Great, Jackie. Thank you.
So
yeah, that's great.
A couple of other conversation starters. So one of my favorite is and will always be the bold script, which is, hey, Jackie, this is Brandon with Keller Williams Realty. I'm hoping you can help me with the problem that I have right now. I'm actually in a competition. I need a minimum of 10 referrals over the next 30 days in order to win. Who do you know that's looking to buy, sell, or invest that I can call today? Now, I have actually gotten people that have responded to that by going, man, I don't have 10. I can give you 3. Okay. I'll call back next week for the other 7. So that works. It really works. Sorry, I clicked my computer. That really works with people that already know, like, and trust you. If they're a brand new Facebook lead, don't send them that because they're going to be like, who the heck are you? I've gotten it. I've tried. So take my advice on that one. So the the Keller Mortgage conversation works really, really well right now. The buyer seminar, investor seminar, seller seminar, they can work as either a phone call or a text. One of my favorites is I'm always looking for ambitious, hardworking people to add to my team. Who do you know that's interested in real estate? True story. I have a past client onboarding this morning. They're going to do it anyway, so you might as well get them in your profit share line. What else? Oh, what's your favorite charity? Where are you planning on going this summer? Like, so you can just use forward. And what questions would you ask to create a conversation? Please understand, text to engage, call to close. Like, yes, you can close via text. I've done it a lot. However, after about 4 texts in any particular conversation, chances are pretty good that the person's not going to respond to you. So call them. Guys, questions, ahas, anything that I didn't cover that I inadvertently missed?
You did great. Let's get at least you guys 3 ahas, and then if you have questions too, this is the time to ask the master of follow-up here.
Brendan, I think the big aha was that you always be asking questions and leave them open-ended so you can engage. It's all about engagement. Everything is about bringing it. Don't ask a yes or no question. Someone can just like go shut it down. Always be looking for something that leads you to the next step in the conversation.
It makes it easier, man. And
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, I still fall into that trap of, hey, James, it's Brandon. Just wanted to check in. Are you still thinking about buying a house? And then
Right.
you're like, no. And I'm like,
Right.
man, okay.
Okay.
sucks.
Have a good day.
Well, right. But then it starts to go into an interrogation.
Right.
Oh, okay, cool. Are you renting currently or do you own?
Right.
I'm renting. Okay, great. When's your lease up? And by that time, they're like, dude, leave me alone.
Yeah. Yep.
But one of the biggest things for me that I learned along the way is don't pose it as them. And what I mean by that is, instead of me saying, hey, James, it's Brandon, just checking in. Are you still thinking about buying? Hey, James, it's Brandon. Just wanted to check in real quick. Who do you know that's thinking about buying right now?
Like
And I've had people say, me. Okay, cool. I've had people say, I just had somebody, while I was on while I've been on this call, somebody just texted in. I don't know anyone, but I'm thinking about moving back to Phoenix. Okay, if I have to.
Love it.
Your database can work for you, man. If you set it up and just, in the beginning, and Casey and I have talked about this, in the beginning, your drips, in the beginning, your conversations aren't going to be great. And you're going to keep refining these over time. The drip campaigns that I set up now, the conversations that I have now are drastically different from the ones that I first did. But don't get into that analysis of paralysis, like where you're like, this has to be perfect. Perfect doesn't exist. Everything that you ask, everything that you say, someone somewhere is going to get jammed up about it. There's only one thing that the human race does really, really well, and that's get pissed off. So even if you piss them off, at least you're going to get them to engage with you. Yeah. Other ahas, guys.
You know the rule. We'll wait for 2 more. You have to have 3, at least. Don't make me call on you. That's uncomfortable. But I'll do it. Margaret, you were such a great participant. Can I call on you for one?
I just need a minute to get off mute.
Oh, you're fine. Thank you.
Well, I had some questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
We saw some numbers earlier this week about 6% of every 100 people in your database will transact. Do you find those numbers shifting as your database enlarges?
Short answer, yes. And that's because I don't maintain the level of communication with the number of people in my database. It shouldn't just be me attempting to communicate with them, right? It should be, I should have a group of people doing that. So I've heard there was a class that I went to that suggested that on any given year, you should have no more than 100 people that you are planning to focus on. So every year, every January, right? Or December, really, you should go into it with the anticipation of creating your 100 list. These are the people that are planning to buy, sell, or invest in the next 12 months. And then breaking them down into 90 days, 6 months, a year, and just rolling through that, because communicating with, if they're looking to transact within the next 90 days, then you should be reaching out to them probably weekly. If they're within the next 6 months, it might be bi-weekly. If they're within 12 months, it should just be monthly. And then the other folks fall in, and you're calling them about every 3 months. But for 5,500 people, I have to do a lot more texting and a lot less calls. Mm-hmm. So yes, but that's because of my own failings, Margaret.
Oh, I don't believe that. I did have an aha as we were talking about things such as events, and that individually we may not have enough people in our database to host an event at this time. It occurred to me that we don't always have to be the one hosting the event, that we can go to other events and do our touches there, whether it's a neighborhood block party, whatever the case may be. So it's not always them coming to us, we can also go to them.
I also was at a event, about a year ago, and one of the girls made her sole form of lead generation was events, but not in the way we think about it. She proposed it as she was the connector. So her event was a game night for a certain group of friends at her house once a month, and an invitation to a different group of friends to a trivia that a local bar hosted. And you could buy, come with a team of 5. If you don't have 5, we'll team you up. The winning team from our group, I'll buy everybody 1 round, right? Like, so there's ways about it that if you think about yourself as the connector, bringing people together, that an event doesn't have to sound like something you have to spend a lot of money on.
You're basically leveraging other people's events.
Absolutely. Yeah. And guys, so look.
Like graduation.
Yep.
Absolutely. Well, use whatever is uniquely you, right? So as I'm listening to Jackie say that, the thought that kind of went through my brain was, I would rather light myself on fire.
I knew it. I
Like
knew you were going to say that.
That's not my bag, man. And that's awesome. It's just not me. So whatever is uniquely you, whatever you enjoy, I know an agent that has created a $20 million a year business off of walking his dog. You just have to talk to everybody, and everybody goes in your database. It doesn't matter how you meet them. It doesn't matter if you can meet them. There are agents that have transacted real estate off of Tinder. I'm not suggesting you do that. I'm just saying it's there.
Hey, I don't use Tinder.
Well, okay, Grindr, whatever you're into, man. I don't know the new dating apparatus.
You might want to look at what Grindr is, by the way.
I have no idea. I've just heard the name. It sounds bad, so it can't be a good thing. But if you have people's name and information, why not? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter where you meet them. It just matters that you met them. You have their contact information for a reason.
Yep.
I know I'm supposed to list your house because I'm in your house with a listing contract and a pen.
Exactly. Love it. Any last ahas or questions for Brandon before he jumps off onto his next appointment? Just checking my chat box. All right.
Great information, Brandon. Thank you.
Yeah.
You are very, very welcome, guys.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Absolutely. Guys, have an amazing day. Go build your database. Go make some money.
Will do. I'll pull up command here as Brandon heads off to his next spot. So lot of great conversation, you guys, on that, on the database and the importance of it. And, we've been addressing smart plans this week. So if you did happen to miss a couple sessions too, I did record the smart plan, so it'll kind of build. But I wanted to jump in, especially, I know we had some specific questions that I think I could definitely help with here. Let me go into my command, and just takes me a second to manipulate my Zoom screen with all you on it. Okay, so let me just go into a contact here for a minute, because I know, Nancy, you had mentioned something about the neighborhood, and this is one of the ways that you can go about it. So just give me a second here while this pulls up. But I think in general, I think that was great conversation. Amazing questions. Of course, I never come up. Let's see. About the database. And I think the whole thing for me when I first started was that I really learned that I had to stop overthinking things. Like I was so, oh, what if I send this? Does it sound wrong? Does it look bad? And now I'm over it, right? Like they're either going to respond to me or they're not. And any response is a good response because they responded. And that's how I've shifted my mindset in terms of that, right? Sometimes even if it's not a friendly response, I was like, well, hey, this is a great problem because they at least responded to me. They got it. My smart plan worked. So, right? Like just shifting my mindset in that way. So here's,
I
yeah.
had a conversation with somebody yesterday about that. Like, imagine you had an assistant. Your assistant would just automatically put everybody in and do this, and they wouldn't give it any thought. So just pretend you're the assistant for an hour.
I love it. Let command be your assistant.
Yeah.
Put
Oh, gee, sorry. Didn't know she was doing that.
Yeah. Love it. I love it. Here, Nancy, I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, either way, this hopefully will be of value. When you put in contacts to your database, Brandon was talking about having an address. If you don't have an address, but you have a first and last name, and you, I love how he said we're professional stalkers, right? You could go into Monsoon and type in the first and last name and look for an address to put in and assign them a neighborhood. If they've come in during an open house, you can assign them a neighborhood. If they've responded to a Facebook listing, you can type in the address of the listing ad that they responded to and find the neighborhood. So I had an address here put in for Mark, but I'm going to show you this again too. You could either search for a neighborhood. So like if I knew I wanted to search for Desert Hills or Desert Ridge, or, you know, I can do it this way. If I'm going to be super honest with you, I prefer just using the find it on a map feature because I'll just type in an address and then I can really zoom in to be sure that I'm in the right neighborhood. So I know I've shown this a couple times. I'm gonna show it again. Don't ask me where these are addresses that I've just searched recently. So I'm just typing that one in here, and then you'll see this little locator drops the pin down, and then I've got to do my job here to zoom in. I'm gonna zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, zoom in until I make sure I'm in the right box. Look at that one, falls close to a couple borders. Oh no, I got to zoom back out. All right, so I'm gonna choose, where did it go? Light back up. I'm zooming too far in, sorry. There we go. So this one falls in Sun City Festival. If I'm like, ooh, I don't know, like it looks pretty close, you can select more than one and you'll see that they're loading right down there, and I'm gonna choose save. And then it's gonna come over here on my contacts main page to show that these are now the neighborhoods that are being assigned to that person, okay? So you'll see right now, I had one up here as historic district. If I wanna send the Sun City Festival one, I have to use the arrows here to scroll over. So this button, I know you were talking about if you were gonna send somebody an email and copy a link, if you copy the link, so by clicking on it, you can then paste it into, an email. Let's see what happens here.
So that would be on the smart plan where it said you're after the whatever, put your link, that would be it. Now they are just getting, is that something they can search off of? Like it changes daily, they can look back and there's changes, or is that link just kind of what is there that day that you sent?
That's a great question. They should be able to go back to it and update it. If you hit this preview button on command, it'll show you what goes to them. And as long as they re-click into the link, it should update.
Okay.
Okay.
So they kind of not search, but see what's in that area.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why it sends, like on that nurture plan too, it'll send once a month. This is what it sends if you put them on the neighborhood nurture. And I was just going to try to see.
So Jackie, that was the question. So once a month, it sends updates on what's new in the neighborhood that you've selected. So basically the drip tells them, here's the new houses and the prices of the homes that are on that market.
Yeah, and I think if they were to go back and click an old link though, it would update it.
Gotcha. Okay.
So if you just wanted to like literally I hit the copy button and I sent it to myself, I clicked on the link and it shows you the same thing in the preview. So just so that you guys know that that function does work.
So in regards to what James was saying, because I just kind of missed a second there, is that what Brandon is considering a drip then? Or
So
is
that's one of his drip, like we use that term drip campaign. It just means that it's something that we're using to constantly, we call it drip on people, constantly be at top of mind. That's a great question. So by setting someone up on the neighborhood monthly smart plan, every month you're dripping on them because they're getting an email from you with your name on it, keeping you at top of mind.
Because I know, like on the MLS, when I set up a drip, quote unquote, whatever, they, you know, I'll put in all of the criteria, and every time a new one goes in, is listed on the MLS, then that person gets an email that one has been listed. So it's different than that.
Yes, and that's a great question, and that's what when Brandon was addressing, do I send them MLS searches? His answer, and I agree with him, and it's how I ran my business too. I don't ever set anybody up on a armless and MLS search unless I'm working with them, had a buyer's consultation with them. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I'm asking them to use the app, or I'm sending them that neighborhood snap so that they can search on those things on their own, so that when they become serious about buying, then we're having a conversation, and then, hey, this is great. Let's get you pre-approved, talk to my lender. Let's figure out where your price range is so that I can get you set up on a search so that you're getting updated with the newest listings every day now that meet your requirements.
So Jackie, quick question on that. So if we have a farm area that's a particular zip code or a particular neighborhood, mm-hmm. we want to shoot a bulk email out to everyone saying, look, here's what's currently for sale in the neighborhood. Here's what's happening. Is it the same process? We just would send bulk email instead of just individual email?
Yeah, you could do that by creating, so you could either you could add them all to the neighborhood smart plan. So you could, in the command library, I'll show you two options. You could add them to the bi-weekly, so they're getting it twice a month. And I think this is where I know some of us have had some command back issues with one of these drip campaigns for some people giving us some issues. So we're working through that. You can either add them to the bi-weekly or the monthly so that they're getting what I just showed you in the screen before. Or you could create an email, and this is cool. Let's talk about this, because if I create this once, I could actually go back and just edit it. So let's call it farm update, okay? Because that's just for me to know what it is. That's not what they're gonna see.
Right.
Okay, and then I'm gonna create an email. And this, remember, we talked about this a couple times. The one that says send email and send SMS, those are automatic. If you want to send something personalized, you're gonna use the create a task. So create a task is manual, you have to do it. The SMS and send are automatic. It's going to happen for you. So if I click on, you can say, you can call it, James, whatever you want in the subject to your farm, neighborhood update, this month's update, May's update, whatever you want to say. And you can type in your message, message here, good afternoon, here's our April update, keep me posted, blah, 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 blah. What you can do is you can put in the link if you know their zip code. So I'm going to actually open command in 2 tabs so that I can show you what I would do. And this is great because it's kind of going to create a template for you that you could send to your farm every month. So I'm just going to go back into a contact, and I'm going to find somebody that I don't have on a smart plan, so it doesn't, Mark gets a lot of random things for me. Let's go with Adam. Adam will understand. Okay, so let me add, I'm gonna go in here, I'm going to add a neighborhood. Okay. And let's see, James, do you have let's see if we can do it by zip code. What's the zip code?
Let's do 85018.
I know Brandon was saying something about zip codes when he was talking. So I'm not sure if that gave us anything. I don't think that's going to work. Is it a certain neighborhood?
Put in Arcadia. Let's see what comes in with that. Okay.
This first one, would that work? North Arcadia Drive?
Yeah.
Or what you can do is we could also, so I won't make you put in like the farm. I'm just going to show you. You could put in one of the addresses from your farm. Okay. And then you can just zoom in, because really all we're doing is we're just trying, let's say that this is the one you want. We just want to get the link, right? So if I were you, I would create myself as a contact and just add this in yours on your name. Okay. So now, right, I'm going to go and I'm going to make sure I would have to remove, which brings up a great question. How do you remove one? If I want to remove Edgewater. Okay. That'll be something that I'll look into and address next week on how to remove it. But Arcadia here, if I copy the link, and now I'm going to bounce back here to the smart plan that I started. Okay. And this is how you add links. So you click this link button and you can put neighborhood update or market update. Here's what's happening. Click here, whatever you want to say, and then you paste it in and add the link. So in your message, you could literally create, right, this template, dear, if your farm is in there and they have the first name, dear so-and-so, here's this month's neighborhood update. Click on the link below. Let me know if you have any questions, whatever you want to say. But this way, they're going to have that link sent. You're going to save it. And then just like we've talked about now you would just add it. So if you had a farm in there, I would recommend that you had a certain tag, like maybe it's called Arcadia Farm, right? And you could then filter out everybody with the Arcadia Farm tag and send them that email all at the same time. So you don't have to go in and individually send it. You can search by that Arcadia tag, and you can add all the people in your farm to the smart plan. And then what you can do is it saves. So I saved this. So now next month, James, when you want to go do this again, all you have to do is go back to that email smart plan that you created. Oops. Because that's going to be, that bulk email goes out once, but now I want to update it, right, for the next month. I'm going to farm update. When I want to do this again in June, I'm going to edit, and I'm just going to go back and I'm just going to either double check that this link is updated, or I'm just going to delete it and repaste it. But my format, like everything else, can stay the same, so I don't have to retype it.
And I could change the information in the bulk email if I wanted to, just to say, here's something new that's happening in the neighborhood, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So that was just one bulk email. So it wasn't, because you created a new smart plan. If you were doing the monthly smart plan, it would go out automatically every month.
Yes. Great clarification. So this is if James wanted to have a specific one that he sent to a certain group. If you wanted to just have like the monthly neighborhood one assigned, that would just happen automatically.
Okay.
So if he wanted to like have a personalized email for a certain group of people, he could create this personalized one, but still send it in bulk.
Okay. Can I ask another question as far as smart plans? When we were working on the one, I think it was yesterday, and you add a smart plan to, so say you're doing the 8x8 and you want to add that to the bottom of a smart plan. So I was working on that last night, and I went to the library, I pulled up the 8x8, I did a new name for myself, and then added it to my smart plans.
Okay.
But I couldn't get it to work, like as far as adding it to well, I know when I went to pull it up in the smart plans, it didn't pop up or something. I can't remember exactly what. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So let me address it because just so everyone knows, if you're not sure what Nancy's talking about, there's something you can do now, adding a smart plan at the end of a smart plan that you have running. So if you were on yesterday, we talked about how if you have the smart plan that I'd given you for connections that ends with restart flow, and that one's just going to go and go and go and continually go and go and go. And you don't have to worry about it because you know it's constantly flowing. You create smart plans though, and some smart plans that you create they're going to end. And then you say, well, then what? What if they've never responded to me? What if they've, now what do I do? Do they just fall off into the black hole and I never talk to them again? What happens when one smart plan ends? What can I do? So Nancy's referring, yesterday, I had shared with you guys and pardon me, I have to go into, so no wonder my computer sometimes with all those tabs doesn't just get angry at me. I just have to go into our shared drive. So if you're in PC, it's in the shared drive. If you're not in PC and you weren't on the call yesterday, but you want a copy, just put your email address in the chat box and I'll get it. But I did send it out to everybody that was on there yesterday. So we have a smart plan folder. And the one that Nancy's referring to is one of the ones that Nick Baldwin shared for a Facebook follow-up. So Brandon and Casey had talked about their 10 days of pain, how they go about it. And then after that's done, what do we do? So I have theirs in here. If you were in one of their classes, this option 2 says Brandon and Casey. Okay. Option 1 was something new that Nick Baldwin had shared. And this plan is really built around text and email. And after you get through the first 10 days of this plan, so what Nancy's referring to is you have to go in and you have to create this as a smart plan first, okay? So you would follow the directions here like we've spoken about. You're gonna create this as its own smart plan. So you could call it Facebook follow-up 1. Then you're gonna go in and let's say they've made it through that entire smart plan. They're still not responding, but I want to keep in contact with them. This one called the 8x8 campaign for kind of like your older, he called it your older Facebook leads, maybe the ones that weren't responding. This one you have to set up first, you have to create it all by itself. So you have to call it whatever you want, 8x8 Facebook lead, long-term follow-up Facebook smart plan, whatever it is so that you're going to remember what you've called it. And then you could go in and you'll see instead of contacting them day after day after day, in this plan, you've got you've got a week delay between making contacts with them. Okay, so after you create, what she's talking about is you have to create you have to create smart plans on their own, and then you can link them together. For example, we just created that one that James and I were talking about with the farm, right? We created this email. Well, let's say that after that email sent out, we immediately wanted to add these people on to another smart plan that we created. Okay, so what you will do is you're gonna set a delay, because maybe I don't want it to go out right after. Maybe I want it to wait 2 days before, oops, not 12. Maybe I want it to wait 2 days before they go on the next smart plan. But what I can do then is I can go to this applet, add smart plan, click it. I'm gonna go down, and now this drop down brings me to all of the smart plans I've ever created that are in my library, okay? The ones that are in mine, not the ones that Command has created, because I had to get them over to mine. So let's just say I wanted to add them to, after that finishes, what do I have in here? Let's just, here we go. Put them on this smart plan. I can click save. And now what's gonna happen is they're gonna go all the way through this smart plan before stopping. So the point is here, you can link a smart plan. And I'll show you one that I recently did for anybody that joins in to our PC program, instead of sending email after email, I moved it all into one. So maybe seeing it this way will help you guys make the connection too. I just have to find it. It should say welcome. Let's see. Here we go. So this one, welcome to the PCX team. This is for anyone that joins Keller Williams. As soon as they come to the program, you guys had all gotten the email at some point, right? Welcome, here's information. And then I, on my end, personally put everybody on a smart plan. Well, now that I know I can link smart plans, I created 3 different ones. So first I need you to understand that. I first created an email smart plan. Then I created one that said PCX team first 4 weeks. So let me show you what that looks like. In the first 4 weeks, anyone that joins, once a week, they're gonna get a phone call from me. Okay, so literally this smart plan is just set up as make a call, set delay, make a call, set delay for the first 4 weeks. That's it. Then I created another smart plan for, okay, I need now, well, what happens after I talk to somebody for the first 4 weeks in the program? What do I want to do next? Okay, I created PCX team month 2 and beyond. So let me show you what that one looks like. This is very similar to the sphere one that I showed you guys. Okay, now you'll see it says create task, send text, because I'm not going to send you guys an automated text. Okay, unless it's like Ignite reminder or something that like is reminding the group of something important or an appointment. I'm going to send you guys a personal text. So that's why it says create task. So I'm going to create the task. I'm going to send a text. I'm going to delay 15 days. I'm going to do a social media touch. I'm going to reach out. I'm going to check on your page. I'm going to, write you a message. And then I'm going to set delay 15 days. And then look, restart flow. So at the end of this smart plan, it's just going to bounce me back. 15 days later, it's going to remind me to send you a text. 15 days later, it's going to remind me to go on social media. 15 days later, text, social media. And it's going to go over and over and over and over until I choose to stop it. Okay? So you've seen there were 3 different smart plans set up. The welcome email, PCX 4 weeks, first 4 weeks, PCX 2 months and beyond. Now what I did was I went back to that very first smart plan that I created, the email, the very first thing they were going to receive from me. I went back and chose the edit button. Okay, this was the first one I created, the welcome email. Here it is. And remember, that's going to go automatically, okay, because it says send email, not create task. I generated this email that could go to anybody because this is something that I want everybody to get the same information on.
Like and subscribe.
So it's got the email,
so you can get updated with any of our
and then
new
you'll
videos
notice it
that come
says
out.
delayed 2 days. Then see here it says add to smart plan, PCX team first 4 weeks. So all I did was, and I can't, it doesn't come up over here because somebody is already on this plan. All I did was went over to the right side and I chose that button I showed you called Add Smart Plan. And then I started typing in PCX team and it showed up, PCX team first 4 weeks. Now they're added to that. Okay, as soon as that one ends, I'm delaying a day and then they're getting added to PCX team 2 months and beyond. And I know that PCX 2 months and beyond, I know at the end of that smart plan, I set to restart flow. And to go and to go and to go. So I know I'm not losing anybody. They're not going to drop off a smart plan because I've got them constantly connected. So Nancy, I'm wondering if did you not see it in the drop down, the second one that you created? Do you know where the issue?
I didn't see it in the drop down, but I didn't see any of mine. So I don't know, maybe I just did something wrong. I'll have to go back and look.
Yeah, and if we need to Zoom personally, just let me know, because it could, like, for me, when I go to the drop down, I just started typing like the name of the one I created. So try that. And you created it here, right, where it said my smart plans, and you went to create.
Yes.
Okay. So that was the other suggestion. So if you go back and try it again, if it's still not working, just reach out to me and I'll help you.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
My pleasure. Did that because I know we've been talking smart plans all week. I feel like that was the last real big feature that I wanted to show you guys about how you can add this link smart plans together. And if you have questions, you guys, it's okay. Even if it's one that we've talked about, I don't mind reviewing it. Like, this is your time, and I'm happy to help with whatever I can in that smart plan realm. And then next week, we're going to dive into other command features. Okay. All right. Well, before we get off this call, we have to do our objection handler today. So I've got a good one for us to talk about. Let me pull that one up. And remember, the more we share here, we are in a safe zone to talk about this, to share ideas. Dawn did a great job talking to us about objection handlers, their importance, the scripting and practicing. And it's so, so important about more people jumping in to help, because something that somebody else says might become one of your favorite one-liners to use. So today's objection is, this is a current renter that you're talking with, that you've been in communication with. And now they say, you know what? With everything that's happening in the economy right now, we're afraid we might lose our job and not be able to make payments on a home. So I think we're going to hold off. So let's hear you guys jump in. Okay, practice. When someone says that, we want to follow our steps. We want to acknowledge it. We want to isolate it. We want to address it by asking powerful questions and educating. And then we want to close based on what we heard our clients say. So I will happily read it I'm going to read it one more time, and I'm going to trust in you that someone's going to just jump in and take a chance. So with everything that's happening in the economy, we're afraid that we might lose our job and not be able to make any payments on a home. So we're going to hold off for now.
Well, I've been thinking about this too. So I really don't have a way to close it. I can address it, but
So let me hear you go. Acknowledge, isolate, address, Victoria, and then we can talk about it together. I love that you're being willing to jump in, and I appreciate you for that. So go for it.
So what you're saying is, with everything that's happening with the COVID in our current situation, that you're afraid that you're going to lose your jobs. Is that correct?
Yes.
And therefore you wouldn't be able to make payments on a new home.
Right.
And that's where I lose it. I don't know where to go from there.
I appreciate that, and I have some ideas, but I'd love to hear you guys. Like, no one's judging anybody. So I think this is a very honest thing. It's something that's happening. What would you say? Or maybe what are you thinking about in your head, and how can we formulate it together?
I mean, because other than that, what's keeping you from buying a home? I'm like, that's a huge thing that's keeping you from, buying a home. So yeah, that's where I'm like.
Yeah.
I guess you could put it into, like, I don't know the right words exactly right now, but you can put it into the fact that, it's never a bad thing to at least start the search and see where things go. I mean, it's going to be a process anyway to buy the home, to find your home. And maybe at that point, we'll have a better idea as to what's going to be going on with the economy. I don't know, because it's probably going to be, it depends on when their lease is up. So to start the whole process, I don't know how to put that into words, but I guess just addressing it, asking those questions. When is your lease up? There's a lot of different options we can look into. We can get you pre-qualified. We can start the whole process and see where it goes from there.
Good.
I don't know if that was very good.
I like it. This is what we're doing. We're sharing. So I have a question.
I actually did have this come up.
Okay.
So that's why I'm like, and I did do that as well, is, you know, okay, well, it doesn't hurt to look, and it doesn't hurt to be informed.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, because she's a nurse and she's been told they're going to lay off staff at Kaiser, which is a huge, you know, company. So, you know, she's put everything on hold. And
is she currently renting? Or
no,
is
she wanted to buy a house here as an investment. So
I got it. Okay.
This was like, well, it's not a great time to buy an investment property. And I was like, yeah, that I get that. And hopefully you won't get laid off, and we'll go from there. And, you know, but I've still got her, I mean, because she was picking out properties on the MLS and stuff, you know, I did have that going. Yeah. But
so I think there are a couple different avenues you can take with this. And I know Greg's in the Bold Pivot class as well. And I have some things that that have been helpful. I've listened to some webinars, some kind of new scripts, and so I thought that I could share them with you. So there are a couple different ways that you could approach this, right? With everything that's happening in the economy, we're afraid we might lose our jobs and not be able to make payments on our home. You know, oh my gosh, you know, Mr. Buyer, oh my gosh, I completely understand that. And it's so unfortunate, you know, with what's happening right now with people losing their jobs and not really being able to predict what's going to happen in the future. Other than you kind of just being nervous that you'd lose your job, is there anything else that's keeping you from continuing to learn more about the home buying process? You know, no, right? We're just really nervous about not being able to afford it. And gosh, I can completely understand and respect that. Let me ask you, you are renting now. Are you comfortable with your current rent payments? Yes, right now we have a job, right? So yeah, I'm comfortable with it right now. What's going to happen, right? We can't predict the future, but you say what I'm hearing you say is that you're nervous that you could lose your jobs and that you won't be able to make a payment on a new home. You know, would it be okay if I asked you, if that does happen and you're still renting, what will happen? Will you be able to continue to afford your rent? Or do you find that it's going to be a situation where you'd have to address it and possibly, you know, move in with a friend or a family member? If they answer, no, we'd continue renting. We can continue to rent. Okay, you know, what if we work together and there was a way for us to find a home that you could make similar or lower mortgage payments on? In that case, would that be something you're interested in? Well, yeah, it would. Okay, now again, we can't predict the future. So I understand we don't know what's going on, you know, with your job. Was there something that your boss had mentioned to you saying that layoffs are possible? Because that could tell you too, they might be like, no, but we just see other people. Or in Victoria's case, it could be like, well, yeah, they told me it could be coming, right? Either way, we're going to field that, but we can say, okay, well, how about, would you be comfortable talking to a lender right now, sharing what your monthly rent is, and talking about what price range that could go at? Because right now, we're at an all-time low in interest rates that we haven't been here in years. So if this is something that could work for you and we could lock it in and move forward with the process, you know, I'd love to talk to you more about that, get you connected with the lender, and at least just set you up on a search. No pressure. You know, I understand that that's a fear of yours, and I respect that. However, I also want to look out for your best interest. And if you know that you're going to continue to rent, don't you agree that, you know, putting that back into a home that you own would be more beneficial? Obviously, these conversations are going to be different based on who you talk to, right? Maybe you're in a situation where Victoria's person says they kind of know it's coming, right? And I'm going to read this one because this one was brand new to me. And I don't know, Greg, if you've seen it yet, but this one talks about if you have a client like we're talking about now that's actually lost their job. And now, okay, they were going to buy or they were going to invest. I thought this was interesting. So again, excuse me, because I'm going to read it because it was new to me as of yesterday when I was reading through them. So the client says, you're calling and you're saying, I just received news that I am getting my last paycheck in the next few weeks. So as an agent, I'm going to say, I'm very sorry to hear that. It's very tough news. I've spoken to several people in your same situation. May I share some ideas that might take a little bit of stress off? Sure. So please, and here's something you can say, please be proactive and call every company that you make regular payments to, such as your mortgage company, your car lease, credit card, utility companies, and let them know about your situation. Most companies are working out different solutions that could be helpful. Some lenders are not charging late fees, moving your payment due date, sometimes up to 3 months without affecting your credit. Utility companies doing what they can to help and are only asking for small payments, if any, and credit card companies are also listening and working with you. However, ask for clarity about what that means when it comes time to pay it back and what that looks like. And then telling them, if you don't take action, you might start receiving collection letters and late charges. So doesn't it make sense to you to call some of those companies and negotiate with them? And then sharing, I hope that helps. I have a checklist I can email you as well, if that's something you'd be interested in. And then I have a checklist that I can send. So I can share that too on a Facebook group. But in this situation, you do need to make sure that you're listening to your client, but then you're also educating them as well. Because in this case, if it was just a what if you brought them more education, or if we talked about Keller Mortgage, right, and how getting in contact with Keller Mortgage could save them in closing costs and actually give them $1,000 more, then it might be something that could work out for them. We're never trying to talk somebody out of it. We're just trying to acknowledge it and really and come from contribution, but care for them too. If it's truly a financial situation, we're not going to force them into it, but we can certainly bring them the options, because if they are going to continue to rent and make payments, it might be a case where they could qualify for a loan. It might not, but in that case, okay, are you happy with where you're renting? Or would it be helpful if I found you another rental that's a little bit less in payments every month? Or have you called the landlord and ask them if for the next few months until you get back on your feet, if you could lower the rent $100, and bring those little nuggets and pieces of information to them. What do you guys think about that? I know that was a lot. That was 15, a lot of different things. How do you feel about those things?
I love what you just said. So thank you. Yeah. There's somebody that hopefully I'll be hearing from soon that Alan works with, that their lease is up the 1st of June. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a great pivot for the current market too. I mean, that's the great, approach we should be taking to be of service in order to lead to, future opportunities.
Yeah. Yep. Really
That's
listening.
really good. Yeah, I really like that too, Jackie. Can you hear me?
Gotcha. Sorry.
Yeah. Also, I was on a webinar about a week ago. There was only a couple of us on it, like Jim Dunning and a couple other people. It was just last minute kind of thing. But the person on it, what they do is they offer a lease to own plan for people. So if certain houses fit their criteria, what they can do for someone who's used to renting is they can now just lease it. And if any time in the first 5 years, they can choose to then buy out the house. And I know they're going to have that person come into the office probably soon after we're allowed back. But I'm not sure when yet. But yeah, that's something to maybe look at as an option too.
I love that. How great would that be to bring that piece of information to them?
This video was brought to you by Keller Williams Arizona Realty TV. Please check out our channel for other great videos. And if you like what you see, like and subscribe.